world of work is changing faster than ever, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the shift in how we build careers. It can feel impossible to predict what the business landscape will look like in the next 5 to 10 years. For young women looking to build a future in business, the big question is, how do you spot the next big thing before everyone else does? Today, I'm joined by someone who has made a career out of answering that exact question. Karen Klein is a founding partner at Bloomberg Beta, the first venture capital firm to focus on the future of work and artificial intelligence. Based in New York, she leads the firm's East Coast investing activities. Before launching Bloomberg Beta, Karen led new initiatives at Bloomberg and played numerous roles at SoftBank, leading investments in many of New York's first generation of leading startups like Buddy Media. But her entrepreneurial spirit started much earlier. She actually co-founded a children's educational training business with her sister to help finance her own college education. Karen has an MBA from the Wharton School and a summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa graduate of both the Annenberg School of Communications and the Wharton School at Penn. She currently serves on the public boards of Regency Centers. She is also a mentor for Techstars and serves on the advisory board of L'Oreal's Women in Digital, and she is a real member of the Gloria's Foundation residency with Gloria Steinem. I'm thrilled to have Karen on the Biz Empress podcast to share her insights on investing, leadership, future of business. Thank you for being here, Karen.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm delighted to be here and to get to chat with you, Avery.
So to start back at the beginning, you co-founded an educational training business with your sister to pay for college. What did that early experience teach you about entrepreneurship that you still use today as a venture capitalist?
So I learned so much from being on the operating side. The first thing, which has served me very well throughout my career, is hard work. And it's given me a lot of empathy toward founders because I know what it's like to have to figure out how to make payroll and to make changes to your team, whether it be letting somebody go or even finding the right key hires. So I think getting to be a practitioner and an operator and seeing firsthand some of the Herculean tasks you had to do to build a company really was a good foundation for what I do today and also just how I relate to people.
So moving to Bloomberg Beta, your focus is often on the future of work and AI. You have a front row seat to the AI revolution, and there's a lot of fear that AI will replace jobs, but you often speak about how it can enhance work. How do you suggest that young women should, and professionals in general, be thinking about AI right now to use it to their advantage?
So AI certainly is going to lead to a lot of change. I mean, already it has. I'm sure with your schoolwork, there have been, ways where it's been able to augment your thinking and even proofread some of the things that you might have submitted. Of course, if that's allowed within your school, sometimes it's not. So I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about it as a technology is because it's something that anyone can adopt. You don't need to be a coder to be able to use AI. So my recommendation would be to lean in here and really just start using it and becoming an expert, because a lot of times people, there's a subset of people that will embrace new technologies, and just by doing that, I think they end up with the advantage because they're starting to see new possibilities. And certainly there's a lot of commentary about what's going to be the true impact on the workforce. But I think if you're somebody who is close enough to the changes that are going on and has demonstrated an ability to learn quickly, there's going to be opportunity for you within the workforce.
Yeah, awesome. And in terms of school, I know in my school it's fully banned. We're not allowed to use it at all. How would you suggest that schools deal with AI?
Yes, it's something that's going to be interesting to see how it gets sorted out. What I would say is, okay, so if your school's recommending you ban it and that you can't use it, you got to follow the rules, that regard. But find a way to use it in your workflow outside of school. So there's a whole myriad of ways people can use AI in our personal lives. I was amazed. I was at a farmer's market this weekend, and they had a range of different vegetables that I've never even seen before,
Mm.
and taking a picture and asking it how I prepare them, and
Right.
and things of that nature, recipes and suggestions. Like, there's ways you can start pushing the boundaries and figuring out how it works. I mean, even with this podcast, did you use
Mm.
AI to come up with some of the questions or to think through? I mean, potentially, right? So
Yeah.
even looking through, I love that you're doing this podcast. Keep thinking through what aspects of the workflow can you change in order to um, augment so you can focus on the things that you want to related to this podcast. Avery, can I turn around the question to you? Where do you use AI for the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely use it for some help with the questions. If not to like write them, but if I'm doing some research, maybe if I want to dig deep, find some good maybe ideas for question to ask, it's definitely very helpful. With school, it's hard to balance work. So, like you were saying, take advantage of it. A lot of people do, and so it's good to get to know how to use it.
Yes, it's such a great opportunity. And the experience that you're already encountering of having to juggle many things, um, it only becomes more challenging over time. Like, and in particular, as if if you decide you want to have a family or you get further along in your career and you're managing more people. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm also very excited about AI, because I think it has a real potential to do some of the work that has historically, been unnoticed,
Yeah.
and help us all really scale. And good for you. Good for you on doing that.
Yeah, I definitely it's not something that's, like, kindly received by a lot of people that I know, students, teachers. So it's good to hear a differing perspective.
Yeah, there's a balance. And I think some of the folks who don't figure out how to use it, they're going to be the ones that have the most challenging path in the
Mm.
workforce.
So venture capital has historically lacked gender diversity, as we discussed, both in terms of investors and founders. You've been recognized as a top woman in VC. What has the experience been like to get there, and what changes do you hope to see for women founders and investors going forward?
So, look, who knows? I mean, it's certainly not been a direct path like
Mm.
as with any startup. My life
Yeah.
has, gone through the cadence and the cycles that one would have, for the most part. But I see this technology as being a game changer for us, and in particular for any underrepresented community, just because we talked about the accessibility. There's also not much cost to it. So not only is it easy to like start to get to know how to use it, it also has limited friction in terms of the expense around it, at least in the early days. So my hope is that it will um, be more of an equalizer for us. And, there's also the element of there's a lot of jobs out there that are just not jobs that are safe, or are unglamorous. And this kind of has the potential to make some of those jobs safer. And then for
Mm.
the ones that aren't necessarily glamorous or have a lot of aspects that are mundane, to kind of free up people's capacity to do more of the aspects of the job that they like.
Okay, awesome. So you've transitioned from operating roles to investing. For our listeners who might be interested in a career in venture capital, what does the day-to-day actually look like, and what skills would you say are most critical for success in this field?
So the day to day, part of the reason I love venture capital is there really isn't a typical day to day. I mean, the day to day is that there's something like whatever I think I'm going to start out my day doing. When you've backed enough people and we're on speed dial to help them as much as we are, I can't necessarily always predict what my day is going to look like, aside from saying it's going to be interesting. And so as a result, there are probably two things that I think are important. One is to have a level of curiosity and to be a learner. And a little bit flexible that there's going to be a lot of change. And then the second is just to treat people well. I think my grandfather was a high school principal in an inner city, and um, he he was such a kind person that he would walk through the halls and everyone would treat him with respect, so much that like no one touched him. And it was because they knew he had the right intentions of doing
Yeah.
right for his community. And so I think when you get close to people in the way that you're really showing that you care about them and you want to help, that really shines through and is a differentiator.
Yeah. I love hearing that advice because I feel like usually it's more you need to be strong and, stand up for yourself, which obviously you do, but important to be. So I mentioned that you sit on the boards of major public companies. What have been some of the biggest differences from working on the board of public companies versus advising the scrappy early stage startups?
So I'm really grateful that I get to see people at the nascent stages of starting a business, as well as people who are operating. One of the companies I work closely is an S&P 500 company. So it's been a good spectrum of experience. There are many differences. As you would imagine, there's a lot more process and systems that are built, and levels of management that happen at a larger company. That's one of the things, early days of startups, they don't necessarily know how, you're able to know your whole team, and
Mm.
there starts to be a lot of changes and thoughtfulness and rigor that needs to be set up when you can no longer just know everyone that's working at your company.
Right.
And so I'd say that's one of the things. One of the things that people often talk about as a difference is level of experimentation, and ability to kind of embrace new technologies. I'd say for sure startups have lower risk in trying many of those things because they just don't have a brand yet and they don't have the same level of customer relationships. Uh, but that being said, I think the companies that do really well continue to keep some of that that design around experimentation and testing of new technologies and looking for the changes that are happening. But there are many common things about the companies that succeed, whether you're a startup or whether you're an established big titan. And a lot of that becomes, choosing the right people, setting up the right, product to meet the needs of the customers.
Congratulations on being named an inaugural resident at the Glorious Foundation, working with the incredible Gloria Steinem. I understand that you are working to ensure that women's voices are represented equitably in AI. Could you share more about what work you're doing in this residence?
Absolutely. I mean, we see this as an opportunity for women to, well, we talked about free up capacity, but it's also like add a multiplier to their super skills. So freeing up their time to focus on some of the more strategic, higher level work and, giving them the confidence and the data to be able to present their ideas. One of the things I love to use AI about is kind of as a coach. And a lot of times there's been the, old boys network and can you get a mentor? Well, now everyone has a mentor, through their phone, through whatever LLM or model you're using. You can ask. I have a friend, talking about personalize and how do you apply using these models for your own life. She uses it and she'll ask like for parenting advice and we'll say, hey, tell me in the voice of, what would Brene Brown and Dr. Becky say? And, and then she'll come up with how to, be a better parent or to respond to something that their child has done. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for women in getting resources through just better data that they now have access to. And the other thing that's been really powerful that I'll just add that's been fantastic about working with Gloria is she has something that she learned from a friend of hers, Chief Wilma Mankiller, who was the Cherokee chief. And it's a practice called a talking circle. And what it is you bring together a group of people. And Gloria's been doing this in her living room for, decades. And it's been the source of movements that have led to the advancement of rights for all of us. And it's been a really powerful tool. And there really isn't a leader. It's more just a conversation amongst people among the circle. And if we all did more listening, I think a lot of our problems would get solved. So that's been one of the things that's been the most exciting. And part of the work that we've been doing is just bringing together some of these communities of different people to solve, challenging problems. And one of them that we're starting with initially is just getting greater adoption of AI among, not only different, women in particular. Obviously, Gloria cares, deeply of that, but it might be race, socioeconomic, all sorts of age. There's all sorts of reasons why people may be more or less likely to try AI and figure out how to use it.
Yeah, super cool. And I love the talking circles sound awesome, especially from someone who sits in class all day and listens to people talking to the students. It's cool to hear that you can just sit around and talk together and try to come up with a solution.
Well, and Avery, it might be something, you've been doing something really powerful here in trying to, advance and find solutions for your peers. And so it might be something where you bring a group of your friends together that care about this as well. And it just leads to great brainstorming about other expansion of Biz Empress.
Yeah, absolutely. I will keep it in mind. Okay, so lastly, we talked a lot about empowerment on the Biz Empress podcast. If you could give one piece of advice to a young woman who has a big business idea but is afraid to take the first step, what would it be?
So using the frame of looking at things as an experiment makes it a lot more approachable to endeavor to do big things. Because if you just look at it regardless of whether there's a positive, there's always a learning. And from there, you can keep trying and keep improving and keep advancing. And it might take a few at bats, but ultimately, you'll get there if you really have the dedication and the nimbleness to learn.
Karen, it has been such a privilege to speak with you today. Thank you for explaining the world of Apple and how we can all prepare for the future of work. Your journey from a young entrepreneur to a leading voice in investing and now a Gloria's Foundation resident is incredibly motivating. I know the Biz Empress community takes so much away from this conversation. Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you, Avery. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much.